Hello and welcome to Scarlet Serpent Readings. Thank you so much for joining me for today's Timeless Pick a Card reading, where we are going to be traversing different timelines. This is going to be an interesting one, and thank you for all of you who voted on this topic in the polls tab that I have, in the community tab, I should say. But in this reading, we are going to be looking at alternate versions of you across the multiverse, and there are going to be 3 piles, and within each pile there's going to be 3 different timelines that we're going to be looking at. It's going to be fairly brief for each timeline just because I want to get a lot of different versions out there, but I'm also going to draw just one oracle for each timeline to describe kind of the environment. So we're going to see how this goes. This should be fun. And before I want to get into the pile selection, I want to, of course, thank all of you who are subscribed and for your continued support. I really appreciate it. I love the comments. I always do. And for those of you who are just stopping by, welcome, and I hope you enjoy today's video. So let's get into pile selection. We have pile 1. Pile 2. The camera wants to look at my fountain back there. Pile 2, and then pile 3. And there's my fountain, since the camera wanted to zoom in. So if you need some more time, again, pile 1 was the boat, pile 2 was the lapis lazuli pyramid, and pile 3 is the green feather. If you need more time, you could always pause the video now, or choose intuitively. The timestamps are in the description box below, and I will see you at your reading. Hi pile 1, if you chose this boat here, this is going to be your reading as we go through different timelines. And I just realized as I started setting up, I'm like, there's a lot that I'm going to be going through for each pile, so bear with me, okay? So first of all, okay, never mind. So I have an oracle card for the first timeline we're going to look at, and it's this card. In this timeline, you might have felt as though you lost a part of yourself. Could be literal death in that way. It's in a timeline that feels fairly medieval. Even though it's meant to be kind of like a parallel universe, it's like here on this planet Earth, things have been made very simple. And that seems good on the surface, but it feels as though you've had to sacrifice a lot to be balanced within yourself. Sacrificed relationship, to be with someone that allows you to move more freely. So it's interesting that we have the decapitated figure and we have 2 swords here, so there's that connection going on. Okay, we have the Ace of Swords and the Justice card. Balance, fairness, both of them facing down, so there's a, yeah, it kind of feels like medieval, like Knights of the Templar, that sort of vibe. I feel as though it might have ended in your demise, I might have to say, or at least that's kind of where it's headed, or at least that's where, oh, that was bad. I didn't realize what I said. If you caught it, anyway, we have the number 11 with Justice and Libra, the owl there, so there might still be a connection. If you have a connection to owls and Athena. That doesn't change with the timeline, at least not in this one. We have Aries as well with the Emperor and the Four of Wands. So we have an equal balance again of fire and air, and lots of power with you in this timeline. Here it seems as though it's a little more direct and physical in terms of what your objective is. Toppling regimes, toppling a government, toppling the structure, the status quo, and doing it in a very in-your-face way. This is a lot of powerful energy. And again, with this card, it might have actually cost you. But it seems as though it was worth it, because you've allowed, I'm saying you've, like, it's happened. So maybe in this timeline, at this now moment, you've already passed, if that makes sense. But you've paved the way for future generations to live more freely, live away from, again, this kind of dictatorship, this empire that was built. It does feel like a very romantic sort of sacrificial story of believing in something greater than yourself, in honor, in what it means to... Freedom is very big, and balance is very big for this pile, and especially this timeline, where you're willing to leave the comfort of your home to go to unknown lands to make an enormous impact. This could have even been, like, we have the Empress with Venus describing the Ace of Swords. So part of your quest, I feel, had to do with taking care of the planet as well. There's a strong contrast with oh, you know what, I was saying the Emperor and it wasn't the Emperor, it was actually the King of Swords. But I noticed that with the Empress here. But there's a very sharp difference between the Empress energy and the King of Swords, or King of Wands here, where you're a lot more interested in the environment. And we get that through twice with the Ten of Pentacles as well, and the Justice card. So balance, fairness is the name of this timeline, of this story. Traversing and spreading your wisdom throughout different villages, and arming yourself as well, and not being afraid of getting captured, because you know the potential of how life could be. And again, it feels as though you've left a place that was comfortable and was balanced, so that you could spread the word about this balance. You're like a messenger in a way. You'll notice here, going through different gates, going through different communities. So that might be something that you feel like in this current timeline. I need to choose my words wisely, in this life that you're living now, as opposed to that one. But what I'm getting at is being a part of any kind of community. You were able to kind of shapeshift in a way. We have the what is this, Knight of Pentacles. So Knight literally coming through, lots of pentacle energy, lots of slow movement in terms of making progress and impact on the world. You like to walk a lot. You're a walker. There's no planes, no other forms of transportation, really. And then we have the Seven of Cups, describing the Four of Wands. You may not have known who to settle with. You may have felt as though you had to choose between a partnership and your cause, which had to do, again, with making the world a safer, more balanced place. And that was your priority. So you're willing to let go of romantic love in exchange for a community where you could actually have love with many other people. And I'm noticing the heart there with the number 7. Again, your sacrifice made waves for more acceptance. Love was the name of the game for you, and loving has to do as well with allowing people to feel safe with who they are, with where they are, in whatever environment. That it's hard enough, especially in this time period, or in this universe, that it was hard enough to battle the elements, and so you didn't believe in having to fight the power. Well, you did, but you felt it was also a waste of energy, so you'd rather get it done now instead of waiting for someone else to do it. You are the leader. This is a very strong, very powerful, you might now in this real, I need to figure that out, how to say that, but you might enjoy, like I guess most people do, but the feeling of the wind, like it'll remind you of moving quickly, it'll remind you of being in the open fields. You like open fields in this lifetime. You like having a solid foundation and building things from the ground up personally. You don't like other people building things for you, not in this lifetime, especially when you made things out of clay, you forged your own weapons. And again, I want to say you were not afraid to go straight up to the person in charge and kind of fight them, like straight on. I'm thinking, I guess, I haven't seen Game of Thrones, I'm not gonna lie. I don't really care to either, but it kind of feels like that, where there's just this straight up sword fight to the death for something, just so that you could have a chance to speak and you were willing to do it. Let's go to the next timeline. We have this card, so very sharp contrast from the previous timeline, where we could say this was more intellectually based. There was, of course, plenty of swords in the previous pile, but this one is fighting through the intellect, through the mind. Let's get our cards for this one. Yeah, you might have been a scientist in this lifetime. We get, well, I guess that makes sense, conspiracy theories in this. I'll look at that again later. Give me one moment, because I'm just gonna read into these energies. It's kind of rapid fire, I like it. Alright. Okay, well, it is intellectual in a way, but at the same time, a lot of it has to do with discovering mysteries and being, in a way, like balancing mystical with science and trying to prove everything. You would be the type of person in this lifetime where if someone makes the claim that they were connecting with a certain deity, you could find a way to detect it, and it's like if you could calculate the aura somehow, if there's a formula for each presence, and you can actually pinpoint, I'm using like a dial here, like if someone claims that they connected with Archangel, Zadkiel, and you could be like, the dial indicates that it was actually holy amethyst. You're on the right ballpark, but that's not true. Or just calling people out. I think mystics in this lifetime not only can get certified, but they had to take like exams and prove that what they were channeling was in fact what they claimed. We have the Three of Cups here. You did know how to have fun. There's 3 cups but 2 people. So it's like one of those cups was being shared. You enjoyed being outside, but at the same time there was a study of the external world. Study of the patterns. You have judgment here. Judgment has like kind of like an alien vibe to it. So you're very curious about, again, the external world, and you would meditate to gain insight. So there was a balance of kind of being like harvesting data through your experience and calculating it in a way where you could present a case in terms of conspiracy theories. You could present a case where like the patterns of a flower could in a way tell you about the nature of all things, and forming a lot of connections like that. And that was kind of your way of fighting the power as well. I'm saying was as if it's not happening, but I guess it depends on how you look at time, right? Let's continue and look a little deeper into this. So you have the Three of Wands and the Four of Wands, both of which are meditating. They're both a little different, both Aries. You have the King of Wands. So Aries, King of Wands has come through in the previous, these last couple timelines. So you might be in Aries. This might be your energy being very fiery. We have the Fool as well. Really going out to get you, following your passion. And it's interesting, for so much fire, there is also a lot of meditating, which is not something you see too often. We have the Four of Clubs here, floating in the clouds. So balancing time alone with time with others. I think this balance is how you were able to create formulas that were very abstract. King of Clubs shows me that you had an idea, you had something that you wanted to prove, you were willing to work at it, but the thing that gave you that drive was the passion that you had for it. In other words, you really wanted to figure out what the universe is about. In a world that tried to fool you, in a way, I swear, I don't know what words I'm saying until they come out, and then I'm like, oh, I said fool, and the Fool card was there, but like, you play the fool nicely, but you're really looking deep between the lines. And I think part of your data collection came from stepping outside of the big city. But when you, it's not like you didn't enjoy being around a lot of people, because when you did, you were able to share this information and connect with people as well. But I think a lot of people respected your power, might have even felt a bit threatened by it, because you had a very strong, you probably do still have a very strong energy to you. We have the Prince of Coins, Page of Coins, and the Three of Clubs. Very loving, but still knowing what you wanted. I think, let's see these real quick. There's a very distinct feel of merging spirituality and science, of trying to convince people of the secrets that are right underneath our nose. And I think part of the reason why you wanted to describe it in this way is because that's the only way people would believe you. Otherwise, it was considered like hoodoo nonsense. It's kind of why this is out here, you know, grounding that experience. Grounding is very important. Grounding with the Four of Clubs. which again was Venus in Aries. We have Venus showing up here as well, so you might have prominent Venus placement. This was in the name of love. I do sense that there was a partnership as well in this lifetime. So while in the other timeline you didn't have, there really wasn't too much of a relationship, it was certainly in this one. And it's interesting too, because in the previous timeline we did have the Four of Wands again, but this was just a dream, and this was something that you sacrificed to allow other people to experience. In this timeline you actually experienced it for yourself, and that came through balance. That was like not self-sacrificing as much. You valued, well, it's not that you didn't value being alive in the other timeline, excuse me, but you found it to be very important that you stayed present, because there's this kind of, in a way, a looming threat as well with this Judgment card. And so you had to kind of play the game of being a regular person while still being a detective. So you might like conspiracy theories now. You might try and put pieces together that don't seem like they belong. Let's look at this final timeline. I don't know what's happening here. I'll show you though. Maybe you found that partnership. Maybe you finally feel whole in this timeline, in this universe. You could see from all angles. But we're gonna find out what that's about right now. Okay. So, like, soulmates, the Lover's card. Look, I mean, man, this is, look at this. Just look at the imagery here. How much more on the nose can the cards be? You notice that, right? Between the different universes, from completely self-sacrificing, giving yourself up for the good of the community, balance, kind of blending in and out of achieving what you want. And this one, in this timeline, it's all about love. Like, that's enough. It's almost as if you actually physically went through. Oh, I didn't mention that experience in the intro. I was supposed to. Oh well. But like, physically falling through these different universes, so then you got to kind of see, oh, you know what, I think at the end of the day love is worth it. Finding someone is worth it, and not giving up on that just allows me to feel whole again, you know. So in this timeline you definitely found your soulmate, just how it says, you know. It's interesting because it was, of karma as well. So justice coming through again, that balance. There's a shift in the karma, right, from the first timeline where you potentially got decapitated, but now through your studies, through focusing on love, you're able to get what you deserve, really. And you always deserved love, and that was something that you put to the side for too long. I like how I'm connecting these. I wasn't intending on doing that, but here it is. We have the Ten of Cups. So remember, in the previous, the very first timeline, we had the Ten of Pentacles. Now it's Ten of Cups. So maybe there was a slight shift in your natal chart where you're more sensitive here. Sensitive to light, connected to fairies. And while in the first timeline you valued structure, you valued having a safe place against the elements, Now what you value is feeling safe emotionally. Let's clarify these cards. We have the Pathfinder with a panther here, getting ready to go. But there's still that sense of traveling, right? So that might have been something that's gone through all the timelines, is the desire to see different things, see different people, see different places. We have the Nine of Cups with the soulmates, the cosmic tree with karma. I think in this timeline more than the others, you felt really connected to everything. And I think it's through that connection that you really felt whole. Not only whole in terms of soulmates, but whole in terms of really belonging in this universe. I think that's why these two cards feel like, yeah, I mean, you're in the universe. With the cosmic tree, there's a sense of having roots and really connecting more so than the other piles, because we didn't really notice this in the other ones, but connecting to ancestors here. And that same tree is showing up again with the Ace of Trees underneath the 10 of Cups. So you started to feel more grounded as your heart was seen for what it is. And I think this has been a quest that has kind of shifted throughout the timelines, but it was really refined in this one. Now with the Pathfinder and the Three of Lotuses. So with all of the cups here, what a contrast from the wands we saw in the other two timelines. Going for connection. Connection was is the primary focus of this timeline. A much stronger connection to fairies, leaving the math behind, even leaving not the honor behind, but again, sacrificing yourself for others, potential codependency of other people, like allowing people to be codependent on you. But this is a very bright shift in perspective. And I think it's great. I think this is kind of a place where you merge all of the aspects of yourself. It kind of connects with the cosmic tree in a way, where you bring down all of the wisdom from the other timelines and you channel it into this one universe where you could fulfill your highest potential. And that potential has a lot to do with love. That potential has a lot to do with seeing yourself in everything and everyone. And that kind of makes for smooth sailing, doesn't it? So, this is an interesting reading. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments how I did, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Take care. Hi, pile 2. If you chose this pyramid, this is going to be your reading. Let's go and travel the multiverse. So I'll just say the last pile, it kind of reminds me of when I did the celestial readings. The sort of the channeling comes really quick, and I felt like it was a lot. So I'm going to try and deliberately slow down, but we'll see how that goes. So I have 3 oracle cards. Each oracle card is for a different timeline, and I already have a couple tarot out for this first timeline that we're going to be looking at, this first universe. And it has something to do with food. It has something to do with comfort, right? Maybe you're a chef in this timeline, in this universe. Man, that looks good. I don't know. This looks really good. But you enjoyed cooking. You could have been, what is it? Like olfactory Claire Gustas. I don't know what it was called, but that could have been or can still be one of your psychic gifts, is smelling things that aren't there. So we have the Three of Pentacles, the Four of Swords, and the Ten of Pentacles. Straight away we get a sense of moving away from something that was fairly safe, that you felt in charge, but moving towards something bigger. And I feel as though this has a lot to do with cooking, and if not cooking, then something that's truly brings you joy and truly makes a difference in the community. It has a very similar feel, I guess, to the first timeline of pile 1, where it almost feels more old-timey. Comfort was important here. I get like Peru, that sort of feeling, or Portugal. Okay, I have the Justice card. The Page of Swords. It's cool because it's like you have an idea to share with the world, and you shared it through creativity. Especially, I mean, I'm really getting cooking a lot here, but you felt as though you weren't getting the recognition that you should have been getting in your initial community, and you wanted to move elsewhere to spread your talent, to show the world what you can do. But this took a lot of courage and planning. The Aquarius here, Justice, introspection of what it is that you could actually offer the world. And the world kind of seemed very big at this time, where how are you going to traverse the mountains? How are you going to travel across the world? I think you wanted to travel, but it just seemed like this enormous obstacle. But it is something that I think you actually went through with, that you found that community, even though you felt alone for a while. Lone wolf. But it kind of looks like, doesn't this look like a bowl or something? If not cooking deliberately, there's some sort of brewing, some sort of, maybe a hint of witchcraft, making spells and things of that nature. But really being in control of you, being in control of where you wanted to be and who you wanted to be around, despite the comfort that you might have left. And that kind of mirrors something that we saw previously. A lot of expansion and balance here. And I think you felt small for a while, no? Yeah, I keep saying that the world feels very big to you, too big, and you don't know how to go about making your mark on it. But I do think you made your mark through cooking. I mean, like through, and if not cooking, through some sort of olfactory thing. It could have been like brewing something, like crafting, even candles or something like that, but where this thing that might have felt small really impacted a lot of people, impacted a community, and you could have been someone who served and enjoyed serving a part of yourself to others in a way that, I mean, you didn't sacrifice yourself here. You could have been someone who went to other countries and kind of helped those who were less fortunate, like homelessness, or just giving food or donating your time or doing something like that. And that's part of the Justice card, and that's part of what you felt your duty was. But I do get, especially since you chose the pyramid, that you enjoy mountains, that you liked walking in mountains or just seeing mountains. You actually enjoy feeling small. I know I kind of do sometimes, where it's nice to know that there's something bigger than you. Okay, next timeline, because we have this puppy. Puppy. I'm not gonna really guess what this is. Maybe you incarnated as a puppy, but maybe part of this was the more playful experience. Let's see. The sun, yeah. So this you got to just be loving. Oh wow, what? I just said be loving, and we got the Empress. Right. She kind of reminds me of that banquet that we saw earlier in the last timeline, in the last universe. So maybe someone enjoys cooking in this pile, but otherwise I'll just say this was your time to have fun and live the opposite of the last timeline, the last universe. You got to be big. This is your time to be big here. Even the dog is big. We have the Prince of Coins that could have been the Wheel of Fortune. Wow, such good luck, such positive energy. We have the King of Swords. There could have been like an opposition trying to make you just jealousy here. Six of Coins and the Empress. Giving freely and openly. Two of Cups. Unbelievable. This was a good lifetime. This is a good timeline here where it just everything seems to be flowing quite nicely. As I said that, and then the Ten of Swords. In the end, I'll show you all of these cards though, don't worry. So we have the Sun and the Empress. That smell, I still get that, you know, of flowers, of enjoying where you're at, being big, communicating with animals, definitely communicating with animals here. It could have been something that balanced your love in a way where you're able to fully feel like the Empress, fully be in your loving energy through animals. And of course, you would attract as well others who kind of were in a similar energy as you. But it wasn't a competition for everyone, although it could have been for some. Yeah, the Wheel of Fortune here. You're able to attract a lot. You didn't have to work very hard to get what you wanted. And you'll even notice in the Empress card, it's kind of hard to see. First of all, she has the Merkaba on her earrings, so there's this potential for astral travel. But we see the pyramids in the very back. Hopefully you can see it. Pardon my nails. But yeah. Okay. You were very close to nature, and you were exposed exclusively to nature. Like you were just outside all the time. And that's kind of what built a momentum for being comfortable. We have the King of Swords with the Sun. I do think that you went around expressing this and showing it off in a good way, like when people noticed your positivity and just the way things kind of came easily to you, you could explain that it was through being in a unconditionally loving state of mind, state of being heart-centered. And balance is always important. Giving some of this abundance that you had, even sharing the luck that you had with others. You were selfless. And it was kind of funny because I said the world was big, that you became big, and you could see here that there's a world in a cage here. That you completely owned it here, you know. And we still get quite a few mountains, so there's a connection with pyramids and mountains with you. You can see the pyramids in the background. We have the Two of Cups, so there was, as I said, as soon as I saw the Prince of Coins, I knew there was a love interest here, and you definitely had one in this universe, in this timeline. Although it wasn't necessarily a divine counterpart, it was beautiful because at least you were in the same kind of frequency of being connected to nature, being loving, being giving, and just having fun. Having fun was very big in this lifetime until the last card, unfortunately. We have the Ten of Swords. I guess it did have to end at some point, but there's a very sharp contrast between all of the vibrant imagery here and even the borders, and then the borders here shift. So I think part of that Wheel of Fortune could have, at the end, the very, very end, continued turning, and this could have marked like an end of an era of simplicity, and then more and more industrial commerce, this sort of thing started taking over slowly. But I do feel as though that ended swiftly, and then we did have the two tens here. So it was just time for a new era. And that was at the very end of this lifetime. So let's continue. I do kind of feel like a continuation in a way, but we have this card. Kind of reminds me of the Seven of Swords. Greed, like avarice, really wanting a lot here. But let's take a look at what that's about. Don't worry, we're not gonna end on a bad note. It's not gonna happen. Let's see, what's this timeline about? It's a lot of cards. I wasn't ready for all this. So we have death coming in twice in this reading, in a way, because the deck is a little different, and it's kind of interesting how the Ten of Swords was in the last reading. We have the Nine of Embers, so there was an explosion of some kind in terms of, like, it's usually exhaustion that we get with Sagittarius, the moon in Sagittarius, and there was Sagittarius previously, so that could have been one of your main signs, along with Libra, Taurus, the moon. You have a strong connection with the moon as well. But here, with the Eight of Lotuses, I think it was just time to connect with okay, so with this previous life, the one that we had just mentioned, it was strong connection to nature, strong connection to the physical world. Here, this life feels a lot more like this was the spirituality side, and I think part of what pushed you over the edge was maybe some experience that wasn't very comfortable, that forced you to go into the spiritual realm, into like the lower worlds, and connecting and potentially being a medium, or at least just connecting with spirit in that way. We have another card of the moon here, then the death, which is Fool in this deck. But I do feel like you are getting out of your comfort zone here and moving towards, again, out of the comfort zone. I didn't even look at this card, I promise, but with the Five of Swords here, with Venus, we did see Venus a few times in the previous pile here. I'm just going back as I notice it, but strong Venus placements. So I think if you were to look at Venus in your chart now, it would give you a hint as to where you could potentially be in parallel universes. You know? But with the Five of Swords and then the orbs afterwards, a strong movement towards the unknown, towards communicating with the divine. Strong communication coming through, actually. Let's see. And I think part of that was due to encountering people who were not very honest, people who, made things difficult, and that's kind of what forced you into spirituality. Where it's like, okay, well, everyone who's alive is difficult, so let me turn to spirit. And I think you found magic through that. You found magic through that. Yeah. The Mender. Yeah, I get like you were a medium. You have the Nine of Pentacles, Ace of Birds, with Death, the Bridge. Okay, so you were a medium or a shaman. You directly spoke with spirit here, because the Bridge, this was more of the witchcraft, and I had mentioned that previously. So there was that other timeline where it was kind of hinted at potentially, but this one is, you're in it completely in it here with the Four of Embers. And this card reminds me a lot of brewing a potion or something. Four of Wands here. This is again Venus popping up, making itself known here. So notice how the love of self is important, because usually Venus in Aries has another person, but there isn't one here. And that's kind of something that happens with the Five of Swords as well, is that you come first, especially with Aquarius not being a part of the battle, because the battle just is a waste of energy there, and you use that energy to connect with spirit, the energy from the Ace of Wands. That's what the Bridge card is. That's why the Death card is here. That's why the Orbs card is here. Hopefully you can see these. And I would even argue that that's why the Eight of Lotuses is here. But especially with the Mender, this feels like a mediumship card, like putting things together. And although it did seem difficult, and a sharp contrast from the other timeline that we had mentioned, where you were, you were on top of the world. In this one, although it might have been a little more difficult initially, it brought a lot more peace and a lot more harmony, and you became an important communicator and a very powerful spiritual person. Again, possibly a shaman or something like that. A shaman, a healer, but extremely strong connection with spirit, going back and forth through the veil effortlessly. And that's a timeline with a lot of growth. I would even kind of look at your, maybe if you had Scorpio, I wouldn't be surprised, but I would look at Pluto as well in 12th house, or 8th house too. Oh, the Eight of Lotuses. It's kind of where you dive deep. So check that out. I think this pile, more so than the previous one, is kind of, there's a nudging to check out your chart and see. I don't know, because there's a connection between these timelines and your astrological chart, and noticing different patterns in how you act, depending on different situations. So there's this self-analysis, self-study that could lead to kind of unlocking potentially all of these timelines in this reality. So if you could see these cards right now, it's a mess. But I hope you enjoyed this reading. I hope you enjoyed this topic. And thank you so much for voting on it. I really, it's nice to know what you all like, because really this channel is for you. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Take care. Hi, pile 3. I should have been ready. I apologize, but here is your reading. If you chose this feather. You're connected to birds. Absolutely. There's communication that comes through to you through birds. I didn't really touch the other objects, but they were relevant to the other readings, and I do feel the energy of feathers very distinctly. That's kind of why I have feathers all over the place. So okay. Now that that's out of the way, I have 3 oracle cards out for 3 different timelines, and I have tarot for the first timeline already out, because these have been going fairly quickly. This first universe is all about love for you and your journey through love, through connecting with the heart and expressing that and communicating it and telling a story through it. We have really heartbreak coming through straight away, and it's interesting because there's a crown here at the bottom, and the first card we have is the King of Cups. I think learning through heartbreak, learning about yourself, learning about what could have been something that was well, obviously heartbreaking, but you also realized that you had a heart that could be broken, you know, that you were able to actually tap into it, and that became a strength over time in your connection to water. The next card that we have is the Page of Wands. So it's like through your connection to the heart, you started moving. You wanted to go. You wanted to explore the depths of who you were, and that took a lot of introspection. I think that's part of what this first card is showing me as well, as being introspective through hardship and pain. And you might be like me, where crying, you heal through crying, you release through crying, and that's part of what, there's a connection to like Pisces, there's a connection to water element, and so forth. So we have as well at the very end the Hierophant with Taurus. So 3 different energies. We have water, fire, and earth. The Hierophant kind of in this card is able to explain complexities, bring down and ground, and navigate through the water at the bottom here. So you could still be connected to your emotions while not being completely drowned by it, and being able to look at other perspectives and really manipulate the currents of your heart center. Describing the King of Cups, we have the Taurus coming through again with the 6 of Pentacles. I think part of this heartbreak could have been like a long distance thing that felt like you couldn't really get to it. There is equal give and take. That was the idea anyway. But it also seems as though with Sagittarius being described by the 5 of Wands with Leo and Mars, that there was some maybe internal conflict. Maybe you felt that you were suffocating a little bit, and that kind of forced you to move away from this person and to again look at yourself and your values and what you wanted out of life, which was fairness. Fairness is very important here, and balanced love. Yeah, we have the 4 of Wands describing the Hierophant, and so really it's I feel as though you probably got married to this person, or there was that reunion I do want to mention that the Four of Wands shows up in each and every pile, so there's that connection that we all have as a collective, I think, if you're watching these videos. And there's the bridge. The bridge comes through a lot, and I'll show you. Can you see the bridge? I think the Hierophant, I think that your journey to becoming the Hierophant, which I'm not going to get into that, but has to do with finding alternate routes, different ways of experiencing life, and different ways to getting what you want. It's kind of like people will say manifestation, you know, I will manifest this and it has to be this way. And that's really, I don't think it's the power of manifestation is to make the world what you think it should be. It's part of the power of manifestation is just going for a feeling, like I want to feel this way, and I'll allow things to unfold, and I'll not just allow things to unfold, but follow my heart's compass to guide me to more of the feeling that I want to feel. And that's kind of what brought you back to this person. It was a winding road, but it led to your introspection. It led to probably stumbling upon different people and different perspectives that could be shared. It allowed you to connect with like-minded souls who were very heart-centered in a world that might not have been. You've seen a lot, though. Look at this. I'm pretty sure it was like this. Okay, I'm gonna continue because there's a few other timelines we have to get to, but this one's mostly based on love and being empathic, and it kind of feels like a desert. It feels like kind of Arizona or Australia, or I don't know geography that well, but something like that, or that's kind of where this took place. Okay, the next card is an oracle card, and this is the main theme of this alternate universe, and it's community with the number 12, diversity and community and belonging and oneness. Let's see what happened here in this universe. Oh no, the Geomancer. That's another deck. It might tie in later though. That's kind of why I wanted to look at it. Switch the cards so that it's Ace of Swords. Lots of inspiration, lots of new ideas and potential and connection to the crown. You could have had a very open crown chakra in this timeline, or connection with Archangel Metatron. 3 of Clubs, which is the 3 of Wands. Very different 3 of Wands, again, with the Sun in Aries, and this one is about meditation, but we do kind of get that sense of it, no? I just noticed this, that it is the solar plexus, so the Sun is still present, being very patient here and waiting. We'll see what you're waiting for in a little bit. I mentioned the desert though, didn't I? Maybe this is spanning multiple universes. Maybe you like the dry air. or the quiet that comes with the desert. I wouldn't know because I need water, obviously. 6 of coins, okay. This is interesting. I'm going to need more cards before I get into it, but I'll just show you the cards. We have the 6 of coins. So 6 of pentacles coming through twice in your reading already. So that's definitely a recurring theme. Balance of where you dedicate your time. There's this contemplation of whether or not it actually is balanced, despite it seeming so on the surface. Because it's kind of like, despite being balanced, why can't I reach where I want to go? You know, and I get that same sense with this other timeline as well. It's like, why am I still on this island despite having given so much? And then we get the ideas coming in with the Ace of Cups and Ace of Swords. And I think you get these ideas through meditation. This could have been a timeline, a universe where you're a little more isolated, which is interesting given this card. I think being isolated gives you a greater appreciation for community, and it's similar to another pile, where you're able to see yourself in everything, and that's part of what that was. But let's clarify these cards. I'm so glad you can't see how horrible my shuffling is right now. Okay. 2 of clubs. There's a bridge. 8 of swords. Ace of swords. Okay, so there's something about a rift between you and somewhere you want to go, or a person, and that's like, it's kind of like really in my face. Let me get one more card before I show you the 8 of coins. And I think you wanted to study why can't you be where you want to be. I'll show you. So here's the rift in the first universe. Here's the rift in this universe, in this other universe. A separation. And the 8 of swords here really feels quite different, where you're like on the edge, you feel like stuck, you can't go. You can't go. The lovers, yeah, so that's confirmation of that. Why couldn't you find a partner? 2 of wands as well. Bridging the gap here with different ideas, despite being balanced. And I think part of your work that you did was through meditation here. So this was like an isolated experience, and you had a very strong longing to be with someone. And there could have even been this denial of, oh, well, I don't need another person. I don't need to have a relationship. But deep down, it was there. It was always there. What was the purpose of this timeline? I just want one more card because I'm not really sure. This was a universe where you really got to be comfortable alone, and that's kind of something I'm feeling with this one as well. Being comfortable being alone. I think in that previous universe you eventually found that partnership. Here I'm not sure if it actually happens, because even with the 10 of cups, and this 10 of cups is different because it feels almost like it's overbearing, like this person gets bored with all of the cups because there's no one to share it with. But I also have this as well. This warrior comes out of this experience. And I think this community card makes a little more sense in that it's probably reversed, I would say. I don't read oracles in reverse, but it kind of has that feel of when you're alone and you're putting that work into yourself. The result is power and confidence. And I guess you get to understand who you are a little bit better and what makes you strong. So this would be a universe where, it's not to say you're not strong in this universe, of course not, but really getting to know very deeply who you are, the impact that you could leave on the world, the stories you have to share, and your wisdom. And I think part of there's this code of that you wanted to crack in terms of breaking free. And this freedom has to do with connecting to self. And I think you are on the path to that, because these people are looking at their phones, they're not really connecting to their bodies. I think that's something that you started doing, and you found solace in that. It's almost as if you found the Lover's card within yourself, that there is aspects of you that could fill that void that you kind of wanted to fill with another person. And I think that was the purpose of this universe, is enjoying all the cups and enjoying you, because that's a lot of wasted water there. Okay, so let's look at this final timeline. We have like the entertainer. It's a moon, a goat, kids looking, community again, some more of a community card showing up again. I don't know, I feel like this pile might have had it difficult in this life too, in terms of relationship, which is kind of why I feel a little melancholy. Six of birds, the spirit plane. There's a lot more movement here in this universe, though. I think your perspective changed. I mean, obviously, the perspective, six of birds, six of swords being Mercury. But it feels as though your perspective shifted because of the fact that you, and I had mentioned this in, I think, the last reading, of seeing life as a game, and that kind of opened up different possibilities for you in terms of what you could do in the world. You have the swan with the, well, it's different. Right. That's you. Moving gracefully on your own, reflecting upon who you are. There's a lot of beauty within you, a lot of wisdom, and a lot of respect that you've earned through your understanding of the world. And it's almost as if you started feeling in this timeline, in this universe, like you preferred being alone at this point, where it's as if you felt as though you had to pretend to enjoy, you had to entertain others in a way. And your inspiration and fire comes with solitude here. You remember, we had the Three of Clubs, the Three of Wands show up in the past, in the last universe. Look at that. Look at the difference here. When there's people there, it was dark, and you're kind of looking elsewhere. When you're alone, it's bright, and you feel at peace. So it's kind of interesting when you see how all of this unfolds. If you're looking at, okay, so I just so happened to, I'm deviating a little, read DC's Crisis on Infinite Earths, and there was a panel where the worlds are lined up like that, and you could see them kind of expand and collide onto each other. It's kind of what I feel with this reading in particular, is kind of building, well, and I guess in the first pile too, where there's a union and a better understanding of self. And I think that there's this version of you, probably in this life too, that's accepting responsibility for all of these universes, all of these timelines, and through meditation you're integrating them into your life. And I think that's where the peace is coming from. The number 3 is showing up a lot here too, so you probably have a lot of not just ancestral connection, but and I was gonna say archangel connection, but this is more ascended master. We have the protector, so I think that could have been confirmation of that. The 3 of Pentacles with the spirit plane. So it's not like all of this wasn't building towards something. But I do get a sense of strong witchcraft in this pile. Strong, just unorthodox living. Six of trees underneath the swan. I know some of you remember the Six of Pentacles has been in every one of your timelines, so that would be a card I would meditate on for sure. If I could find it somewhere. I don't know if I feel like looking for it right now. Oh, it wasn't. Never mind. There we go. I'm stubborn. Across each universe, you have the Six of Pentacles. I highly suggest meditating on this, on the idea of Six of Pentacles. And it's interesting, the depiction is quite different for all of these cards. Just because you feel as though you're giving an equal share, it doesn't mean that it's manifesting in the world in that way. And I think that would be an indication of kind of your energy and making the adjustments so that it is fair. Because this last timeline, this looks good, doesn't it? A blending of energies, the water flowing, the tree in the middle. This is harmony. In the past lives, or I should say in the other timelines, this one doesn't look bad either, but it's in solitude, it's facing the moon, so you could really get the highlight of yeah, that moon card of maybe something isn't what it seems. And here it's a little more on the nose, where there is a bridge. There is a bridge in the background, but these two figures are apart still. So this is a big card for you. And it's underneath the swan as well, which represents you. This is the High Priestess card in this deck. You intuitively are aware of what it means to give and receive equally. And this doesn't just apply to money. This is where do you put your energy and how is it being returned to you? Is that return worthy of what you're giving? Really. Same thing goes for relationships. But notice what you're getting. I think that's the big thing here. What are you getting for your efforts? It's okay to be selfish in this pile, in this group, because most of this has to do with you and introspection and kind of your connection to self and allowing yourself to cry and allowing yourself to find power in that solitude. We have the veil with the Three of Embers here. That doesn't mean there isn't someone for you. You might have, be in a relationship now. This is, of course, this whole reading is other universes, so please keep that in mind. But I want to get another oracle card for this pile. Or I guess whatever. This card, it was faced up. I just kind of looked at it and shot through the heart. Warrior spirit, though. This is definitely a spiritual warrior pile. I want to get a card that clarifies this too. This is you. The world is you and your experience, and that it expands who you are. It might seem like a lonely, journey in terms of these universes that we've traveled across together, but really it's your power is you and your ability to overcome any obstacle, to build bridges. That's what really the Six of Pentacles have been about: building bridges, creating your own opportunities, in a way taking control of your reality, in doing so with grace. Okay, so hopefully this reading was, I don't know if I would say entertaining with this one, but I would say hopefully helpful in helping you see your own power and just learned a little bit about yourself in different timelines. I'm very curious about this pile in particular, how it resonates, so please let me know, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Take care.